With that, let us start off with the first topic, which is the legal status of the Sunnah. Now, why are we talking about this topic? To be frank, the reason we're talking about it is because, in my opinion, the vast majority of the Muslims of the West are absolutely unaware of this science, of this topic. They will, for example, prepare a lecture without even going back to the Sunnah, going back to the Qur'an, going back to their understanding of the Qur'an. If they're going to give their fiqh opinions, their aqeedah, they're going to give their ideas of Islam without caring, without concerning themselves with what the Sunnah says. And this is a phenomena that is more common in the West than it is in the East. It is more common in the West, specifically America and Canada, than it is in the East. This is because of a movement here which is known as modernism, which seeks to revise Islam, which seeks to change Islam with the times. And as part of this movement, they must reject either in totality or at least a major portion of the Sunnah in order for them to achieve this goal. And this type of mentality is rooted in the minds of the vast majority of the Muslims of this country in particular, the feeling that Islam must evolve, that it will change from time to place, that it will adapt to the situation that it's in, rather than the people of the time and situation adapting to Islam. So in order for them to achieve this goal, there is a type of mentality with regards to the Sunnah that it is not as important as the Qur'an. And of course no Muslim really, or hardly any Muslim is going to stand up and say, I don't believe in the Sunnah. No one can say that. He'll say, I don't believe in the Prophet ﷺ, or I don't believe in, if the Prophet told me to do something, I wouldn't do it. No one's going to say that. But they have ways around it. They have ways to get out of it. First thing they'll say, well, hadith wasn't really preserved. Imam Bukhari died 250 years after the Prophet ﷺ. We're not quite sure it was really preserved. Basically, if you say this, you are saying the same thing as saying we don't care about the Sunnah. Because if someone quotes you a hadith or a Sunnah, and you say, I don't even know if the Prophet ﷺ said it, it's as if you're saying, whatever the Prophet ﷺ said, I don't care about it. The end result is the same. Think about it and you'll see what I'm saying. If you deny that the Sunnah has been preserved, the end result is the denial of the Sunnah itself. So no one's going to stand up and say, we don't care about the Sunnah. But they're going to say, well, okay, that's your interpretation of the Sunnah. You quote him a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, okay, clear as the light of day in its meaning. There can be no ambiguity. And he'll say, well, there are differences of opinion about this issue. You have your proofs, and I'm sure the other scholars have their proofs. The fact that you quote him a hadith, it doesn't mean anything to him. It'll come in from one ear and out the other. So this is the mentality that is present in many of the Muslims of today, unfortunately. And like I said, especially in this part of the world, for reasons which are historical and other factors which we don't really want to get involved with right now. But I just want to point out that it is very sad to note that, especially in this country, this phenomenon is far greater than in majority of the other countries, Western and Eastern. For example, in England, the idea of modernism is not as firmly rooted amongst the Muslims as it is in America.